There is something quietly consuming us. It doesn't roar like anger. It doesn't sting like envy. It seduces us gently, whispering promises of pleasure, of closeness, of escape. Carl Jung once wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And in no realm is this more terrifyingly true than in the realm of lust, because lust, when unseen, doesn't just distort love, it fractures the very architecture of the soul. You can feel it, can't you? That brief, hollow rush that fades into emptiness, that strange exhaustion after the pleasure is gone, the silence that follows, where meaning used to live. Jung saw this coming long before our age of screens and stimulation. He warned that the modern man, cut off from his own depths, would become a slave, not to demons outside him, but to the ones he refused to see within. He called it possession by the unconscious. And in the digital age, that possession has a face, a glowing rectangle, an endless feed, an algorithm whispering, "Stay. Just one more scroll, one more image." Jung once said, "People don't have ideas. Ideas have people." That's the first truth of lust. You don't chase it. It chases you. It begins with a flicker, a thought, a fantasy, a glance. Then it grows roots, invisible roots that coil around the mind. You think you're free, choosing, indulging, controlling. But beneath the surface, it's the image that's controlling you. You become the prey of your own projections. Jung explained that lust isn't about the body at all. It's the psyche, starved of wholeness, seeking completion through symbols. You're not drawn to a person. You're drawn to what your soul believes that person represents: vitality, beauty, life, mystery. You don't want them. You want what they awaken in you. But when you chase the symbol rather than integrate it, you become addicted to reflection rather than reality. And in that addiction, you fragment. Your energy scatters. Your will dissolves. Your life becomes a repetition of impulse and regret. The same pattern, looping endlessly, like a dream that won't let you wake up. Jung said, "Whatever you repress comes back to you as fate." And lust, repressed and unconscious, always returns, disguised as temptation, as obsession, as what you call love. But it's not love. It's hunger wearing love's face. Now, look deeper. What you call lust is not an enemy. It's a mirror. In Jung's language, it is the shadow, the part of you that contains everything you deny, reject, and hide from. When you repress your desire for connection, vitality, or power, those forces go underground, and in the dark, they distort. They turn into fantasy, into compulsion, into craving without satisfaction. The more you deny the shadow, the stronger it becomes. And so the man who insists, "I am pure," is often the one secretly burning with obsession. The woman who despises lust in others is often the one haunted by it in her dreams. Jung warned, everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. To face lust, then, is not to destroy it. It is to integrate it, to recognize it as your own energy, distorted by repression. When you look at an image that pulls you, tempts you, calls you, pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what in me is it trying to awaken? Because behind every image that captivates you is a forgotten part of your soul begging to be seen. But we don't pause anymore, do we? We scroll, we click, we consume, we trade depth for dopamine. And the tragedy is this: the more we feed lust, the weaker we become. Because lust is not satisfied by feeding. It's satisfied only by understanding. When you feed it, it multiplies. When you face it, it transforms. Jung saw lust not as a moral failing, but as a misuse of sacred energy. He called it libido, not in the modern sexual sense, but as the raw life force of the psyche. The same energy that can create art, build civilizations, write poetry, can also destroy you when left unconscious. When that energy is fixated on pleasure without purpose, it begins to decay. You start to feel drained, restless, anxious, like a candle burning too fast. Your focus collapses, your motivation withers, your creativity dies quietly, and still, you keep reaching for stimulation because your mind mistakes intensity for aliveness. Jung once observed, the most intense conflicts, if overcome, leave behind a sense of security and calm that is not easily disturbed. But when conflict is avoided, when you refuse to face your impulses, you lose that inner peace. You remain forever at war with yourself. And that's what's happening to us today. We are overstimulated, but underawakened. We chase pleasure, but feel empty. We scroll endlessly, but never see. We've confused desire with meaning, and meaning, once lost, cannot be replaced by pleasure. Every time you trade real connection for fantasy, you exchange a piece of your soul for a moment of escape. You might not feel it immediately, but your spirit knows. It senses the loss. It grows quieter. It withdraws. You start to notice life becoming flat. Colors fade. Music doesn't move you the same. You laugh, but it doesn't echo inside. That's the cost of unconscious desire, a slow fading of your inner world. But Jung believed in redemption, not through repression, but through transformation. He wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain," and he meant it literally. The pain of withdrawal, the discomfort of restraint, the ache of silence where stimulation once lived. This pain is not punishment, it's purification. Every time you choose awareness over impulse, you reclaim energy that was leaking away. Every temptation resisted consciously is energy transformed into strength. That's why Jung called the process of individuation a descent into the unconscious. You don't escape your darkness, you enter it and bring the light of awareness with you. And when you begin that descent, something miraculous happens. The same energy that once enslaved you begins to serve you. You start to notice a strange calm. Your breathing slows. Your attention sharpens. Your presence deepens. You no longer chase beauty. You emanate it. You no longer crave connection. You embody it. You stop looking for love, because love begins looking for you. Lust is the source of creation, Jung once said, but when denied its spiritual meaning, it becomes destructive. And that is the turning point. The ancient mystics once said that the same fire that burns can also illuminate. Jung agreed. He saw lust not as sin, but as misdirected sacred power. He wrote, "Where love rules, there is no will to power, and where power predominates, their love is lacking." To him, lust was what happens when the will to power replaces the will to love. When energy that could have built becomes energy that consumes. The question is not, how do I get rid of lust? The question is, how do I redeem it? Because that heat you feel, that ache, that hunger, is not evil. It's raw life, unrefined, untamed, but divine at its core. Every great transformation in Jung's work begins with this recognition. What you think is destroying you is actually trying to evolve you. That's why he said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." So, when the surge of lust comes, don't run. Don't drown in guilt. Don't suppress it into shame. Instead, watch. Observe the energy as it rises. Feel its pulse in your body, its electricity. Don't act on it. Don't feed it. Just breathe. Witness it, as if it were sacred fire, because it is. The more consciously you hold that energy without spilling it into compulsion, the more it refines. It climbs upward, from the lower centers of instinct to the higher centers of creation, from body to imagination to insight. And then something unexpected happens. The same energy that once demanded release now becomes creative inspiration. Your words sharpen, your art deepens, your intuition awakens. You start to notice beauty everywhere, not as a craving, but as a recognition of the divine in all things. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But who you truly are is not the slave of impulse. You are the master of transformation, a bridge between instinct and spirit. When you channel your desire into creation, you fulfill its true purpose. Because the soul was never meant to feed endlessly. It was meant to express. And this is where few people arrive. The place beyond repression, beyond indulgence, where desire itself becomes devotion. When you begin to see lust as energy rather than sin, you stop being afraid of it. You start to understand it. You start to listen. It tells you what your soul has been starving for. Connection, meaning, union, but not with another body, with your own lost self. You start to realize that the longing you projected onto others was really the longing to come home, to the wholeness inside you. Jung called this the process of individuation, the gradual awakening of all parts of the psyche into harmony. He wrote, "Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. And in that integration, lust no longer controls you. It becomes a current within you. It moves with grace. It doesn't demand. It serves. You walk differently. You speak differently. You look at the world with quiet power, not because you've suppressed your instincts, but because you've understood them." This is what Jung meant by psychological alchemy, turning base instincts into gold, not by denial, but by consciousness. Now imagine this awakening spreading through a generation that has been drained, overstimulated, fractured by fantasy. Imagine if we remembered that lust is not entertainment, but the first language of creation itself. That same energy that builds galaxies breathes through you now. It only waits for your direction. It asks, "Will you waste me, or will you create with me?" Every choice you make, every impulse you observe instead of obey, is a declaration of sovereignty. You begin to notice the subtle shift. The need for stimulation fades. Your attention becomes magnetic. Your presence begins to nourish others. People feel it around you, the quiet radiance of a soul no longer leaking its power. You start to move through the world as if everything were sacred, because to the awakened, it is. Jung described this as the union of the masculine and feminine within, the sacred marriage of opposites. In every man, there is an inner woman, the anima. In every woman, an inner man, the animus. Lust is what happens when you seek your inner counterpart outside of yourself, but when you integrate it within, you become whole. You no longer look to others to complete you. You meet others as complete beings. You stop grasping, stop chasing. You simply are. And in that state, love finally becomes possible. Because love, true love, is not hunger. It's recognition. You look at another and you see not an object of desire, but a mirror of your own divinity. And in that seeing, lust transforms into reverence. Jung said, "Through pride, we are ever deceiving ourselves." But deep down below the surface of the average conscience, a still, small voice says to us, something is out of tune. That voice, the one whispering that something is out of tune, that is the call to harmony, to union, to love beyond possession. You start to realize the war inside you was never between good and evil, but between ignorance and awareness. You were never fighting lust. You were fighting your own unlived life. The desires you thought would destroy you were simply trying to lead you back home, to the part of you that still remembers what sacredness feels like. When you finally stop running, when you finally turn and face the fire, it doesn't consume you. It crowns you. You become radiant, not because you've conquered your desire, but because you've understood it. And in that understanding, you awaken. The world doesn't change, but your eyes do. You walk among the same people, see the same images, hear the same temptations, and yet you are unmoved, not because you are numb, but because you see through them. You see the soul behind every shadow. You see the divine behind every desire, and in that vision, you are free. Jung wrote, "The meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." And that's what happens when the conscious finally meets the unconscious. When you meet your shadow not with judgment but with awareness, you transform. The fire becomes light. The hunger becomes creation. The lust becomes love. And you become whole. So the next time that familiar hunger arises, pause. Don't feed it. Don't fear it. Just listen. Beneath the surface, it's not lust calling your name. It's life itself, asking to be lived fully, not consumed carelessly. And when you answer that call consciously, you will understand Jung's final gift, that the forces which once enslaved you were never your enemies. They were the unawakened parts of your soul, waiting to be seen. In all chaos there is a cosmos, Jung wrote. In all disorder, a secret order. Maybe lust was never the problem. Maybe forgetting its sacred purpose was.